Well, I went to plane down a little bit of wood. I started building patterns for the bigger grown-up corn tool and cutter grinder project that I'm starting. And instead of planing down and giving me some nice chips off of this planer, I got a lot of dust. So I think it's time to sharpen up the blades, and I thought I'd just take you along. This is an older Dewalt 733. It still works really well when the blades are sharp. I've already removed the dust chute off the back of it, and all the tools are here in the tray, other than the Phillips screwdriver to take the dust chute itself off, which was kind of a add-on. But we're just undoing the set screws that hold the cover on here. Maybe, if we can keep from losing the screws. There we are. Get them out of the way. And then our cutter head pulls out. And I've already unplugged it, of course. And there's our cutter blades. And they have been well used and abused. They consider these a disposable blade, and I've got a couple extra sets of them. But I thought this was a good opportunity to pull it apart and show you how it comes apart and you reset your blades. You loosen up each of the blades. I believe we have a lock in here. And the lock's over on this side. I'll move it around and give you a different view of it. This is our safety lockout, or our lock to lock it in position. So normally our cutter head would rotate with, of course, the blade cover, the blade guide, and the blade itself on here. But when we go to unbolt them, why it wants to flex as we do it. So it's got a little bolt lock here. But when we get it in the proper position, it will lock that in place. So we've limited our movement. So we can loosen and tighten those bolts. When the upper cover is back on, that can't be engaged. That will automatically push it down into that position. So then it's free to rotate again. There's our spring-loaded retainer on top, and of course the spring holds tension on it to hold the blade up when you initially set it up. And there's our blades, and these are well chewed up. And there's our second blade. Alright, well here's my little setup for sharpening planer knives. And I built this several years ago. But what it is, all it is I've got a little piece of plywood here. Looks like 5/8, 3/4 inch plywood. And I've got grooves that I cut on the table saw at an angle to match this angle. So what happens is one of them sits in here just like this. And Dewalt's always considered these a disposable planer knife. They expect you just to replace them. But I find I can resharpen them without any trouble at all. Takes a little bit of time when I let them get in this condition. But you make sure your jig's nice and clean down in the groove so it sets all the way down. And that's the way they look. You've got both your knives set just like that, at that angle. And then I've got just some little blocks that I've cut, little dovetails on the end so they're easy to hold on to. And I've got them with different grits of sandpaper. This is 1/8 or 180, and I've got a 240 and then a 400. So all you do to sharpen these is it sets flat on there because it matches your angle, and you just sand them smooth. Now you have to be careful to do it evenly all the way across so you don't sand a belly into the middle of them. You know, and of course there's a lot fancier ways to do this, but I built this little jig way back, well, it was back in 2005 or 2006. And this is what I had available to me, and it actually works very, very well. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here just going ahead and sanding this down, get the whole surface onto a nice level plane, and we can already feel that starting to sharpen up. This could also be done if you're using a glass plate for lapping, or on a surface plate that you normally will do this on. You could take and stick down a full sheet of sandpaper. You could invert this, and because it will hold them in position upside down. so it could be run across your flat surface there. Would actually go a little bit faster than this, might be a little more consistent. But there again, when I initially built this setup, why I didn't have a surface plate, and poor boy's got poor ways. So just go along and do with what you got, and it'll work just fine. I see I've got a nick along here, so we'll have to take a fair amount off to get rid of all this. So we'll go ahead and sand this down, keep working this down until we get a nice surface all the way along. Here's our planer blades down to 400. Now these blades have got some nicks in them yet, and it probably is about time to replace them. Otherwise I'm going to have to probably set up the tool and cutter grinder and resharpen them that way. But I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see we've got a little bevel edge, kind of like that micro edge on the edge of both sides. So my bevels are tilted in just a little bit. So I have over time actually changed the angles on these. Of course, this has probably been sharpened 2 or 3 times, this set of blades. So anyway, I've cleaned them up a little bit, and we've got a pretty decent edge on them. Let's go ahead and put them back in. And then what we do is we've got our 2 little setting gauges right there. And they're for setting the knives. And the way they install, they've got a little magnet underneath them. And we set them right there in place, and that sets our heights on the knives themselves. Now we can go ahead and engage our lock and tighten the rest of them down. Okay, and there we're all set back in place. Once it's free and all the crap's out of there, the lock will automatically engage without the upper cover on it. And it's a safety lockout feature, I guess. Makes it safe when you got your fingers stuck down in there. Anyway, there's that part of it assembled. We go ahead and we'll take the rest of our dust chute, and it will set back in place. Just like that. We've got 2 Allen screws, Allen head cap screws that go back in. Put your Allen wrench back in so you don't lose it. Your wrench here, your wrench there, and your 2 setting guides. Everything's there so you don't lose all your nifty little pieces. So this is all back together, and then we've got the dust chute to go back on. And it's just held on with 3 Phillips head screws. This is not the most elegant solution for dust collection. I'm not real impressed with this hood. If you've got the tool mounted stationary and nothing ever changes, if it's just on a roll-around cart or something, that way it's fine. If you're still trying to keep it relatively compact it becomes a little more of an issue because you can't fold up the outfeed tray with the dust port on there. Okay, we're all reassembled. Let's turn it back around, and normally I'll hook up a dust port to it. I'm not going to worry about it since I've got it out here. But let's just run a little bit of wood through it and see how it acts. Now I realize this is nothing spectacular, but I'm relatively happy with those shavings for a few minutes work compared to the little sawdust I was getting before. Why, that doesn't look too bad. So hopefully you find something a little bit interesting there. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch.